Hello, peoples. This is Colorado 200 Reality TV, and I'm with Jimmy Funkhouser. Is that correct?
You nailed it.
Yeah, Jimmy Funkhouser?
Yep.
Good. Sorry, you cut out there a little bit. And he is our finalist for the Colorado 200 Reality TV show that we're kind of doing. And of course, it's not really a TV show, but we'll be doing some Google Hangouts pretty much weekly or bi-weekly. And then Jimmy will be posting some social media content about his journey. And then, of course, you will get to track him live on our awesome tracking system that we have at Colorado 200 and watch kind of just his journey on how that all goes. So I'll let Jimmy introduce himself and tell us why the heck he wants to run 200 miles through the Colorado mountains.
All right. Well, thank you, and obviously, thanks for the opportunity to share my story. It's been a fun journey. So I think I'll start with kind of what brought me to running. I was a triathlete for about 6 or 7 years, and it was interesting because in the triathlon experience, running was the third of the race that I disliked the most. I loved to swim. I was a competitive swimmer when I was younger. I was always a strong cyclist, and really struggled with the running. Struggled to find my groove there, and eventually reached the point where I started to actually do more relay or team triathlons just to avoid the running part of it. And my whole experience with running changed the first time I ever went on a trail run. It just opened the world of running up to me in a different way. And running became an adventure for me and changed my entire perspective on running. And ever since then, I hung the triathlon shoes up, and maybe it was because I was going to eventually have to buy an expensive bike. I don't know, but eventually hung the triathlon shoes up, and ever since then, I've been a trail runner, and I've been very passionate about the experience of trail running, and more than anything, the adventure. That's what I'm very passionate about personally and professionally, and you know, I've shared with you, Michelle, that, you know, one of the most important things to me is just living a big life and challenging myself and doing the things that I'm afraid to do. And ultra running is an amazing opportunity to do just that, to really challenge yourself and do things that people, when you say it, people just look at you like you're speaking a different language. It's just unfathomable for someone to run 100 miles or 200 miles or anything, especially in the mountains. And I love sharing those stories, and I love watching people's heads spin off when I talk about it. And it's just, it's what I enjoy, and it's been an amazing experience, especially out here in Colorado.
And you have had a few DNFs. You have tried the 100-mile distance, but you've never actually completed anything over a 50K. So that's kind of a huge thing for you. And those 200-milers were quite a learning experience for you. You tried Run Rabbit Run and the Javelina 100, and both of those are pretty extreme in their own way. Right. Unfortunately, you had bronchitis for Run Rabbit Run, so that's kind of a...
Yeah, that sucks.
That's a freebie, so, I mean, that's a bummer.
I don't want any freebies. We'll call it a lesson. I'm
just saying, you can't really work through that when it's like 7 degrees and you're in high elevation and you're probably eventually coughing out blood. So that's an okay thing. And then, you know, Javelina, well, I'm going to give you a little bit of hell for that one because I know it's hot there. I think you knew it was probably hot there.
Yeah.
But I think we talked about this before. Do you want to talk about it a little bit further? How you?
Yeah, I think probably I went into Javelina with a little chip on my shoulder because I left Run Rabbit Run. I actually signed up for Javelina after my DNF at Run Rabbit Run because I knew I had the legs at Run Rabbit Run. My body felt great, and I thought that I left a great finish on the table there. So I came home, licked my wounds for a couple days and said, all right, let's find the next race. And went into Javelina just kind of honestly like, I'm already ready. I could have finished Run Rabbit Run. I had the legs, so I've clearly got the legs for Javelina. And I don't think I respected the distance. I don't think I respected the conditions. It was the first time, honestly, I'd ran in heat all year because I was running in the mountains either in the morning or at night, cool, dry, not a lot of sun. And I got to Javelina and just got absolutely scorched. It was hot. It was sunny. It was humid. It was sandy. It was everything that I wasn't used to. And it was the first time I'd ever even walked in the desert, let alone run in the desert. And it was a learning experience. I think that it really showed me that regardless of the race, respect the distance, respect the conditions, respect the preparation that you need to go into a race. And I was humbled, and now I know better. So I think it's just knowing what you're up against and preparing for that challenge. And I didn't do that. And that's DNF'd me. So
Right. So you have a whole new take on this 200 approach, right?
Yeah. No, I think, and that's why I'm excited to work with you, because I think it's all about the preparation and respecting the distance and knowing what it's going to take to be prepared, because this race is going to have its own unique challenges. So I'm excited.
Yes, and I do believe that you need that extra little something, that live life to the fullest kind of attitude that you have in order to achieve this. Because obviously, even in a 100-miler, a coach can take you so far, but you have to get yourself through those lows. And pacers help, but they can't do it for you. It's your own two legs. It's you doing the work and you pushing through and you keeping one foot in front of the other. So I do believe you have that, and I'm excited to coach you too. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's see. Well, what kind of questions do you have? I totally unloaded on Jimmy today, guys. Bunch of emails, bunch of information. We're going to get him going starting tomorrow. So I know that he probably has a lot of questions or just comments in general about my coaching approach.
Yeah, well, so I'll just kind of look at a couple of the documents here. I think really the biggest thing was just kind of running through some of the semantics of, I guess, kind of what your some of the numbers mean. I think most of it was pretty self-explanatory with some of the other documents, so I won't get into like some of the boring details there. But so if I were to look at the running sheet itself, I just want to make sure I kind of know what like the certain numbers mean, and maybe we could just go over just tomorrow, and that would kind of give me like the template for what I'm looking at and what makes what means what, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I am pulling it up now.
Sorry, that's my dog.
My dogs are over here taking a nap, thankfully. I wore them out today, so.
Mine are so not.
Yeah, it's okay. It's still early. Here it is. So I was trying to get all this stuff printed off beforehand, but I don't want the printer making noises in the background here. So for tomorrow, you've got the sideways. There we go. Can you still see me?
Yeah. Yeah. You have. I'll tell them what you have, because I know. You have what is considered a speed interval workout. However, the speed portion of it will only be at about 60% just to begin. So I'm going to get you out there. We'll get you warmed up, and you will, do about a 60% effort base. It won't be much. Just to say hello to your legs again, and to get you to start. You already have somewhat of a base, obviously. So I think just to get your mind and your legs working together and getting your turnover going, and just start getting in a more consistent scheduled program. Right. So tomorrow you'll be warming up. That'll be the first number that you see. Okay. And then in parentheses you have, for example, and I'll just give an example because I can't remember exactly, but if you have like 10 times 30 seconds, then you will do 30 seconds at 60% effort. And then you'll dial it down and do a walking pace of 2 minutes, let's say, if there's a 2 minutes rest. And then you'll do 30 seconds at 60% effort of running, and then 2 minutes at rest pace, which would be walking. And then you cool down for the 15 minutes or whatnot. So does that make sense to you?
Yeah, and that's what the last number, 15, and then the 3 what's the MR represent?
The MR is minutes rest. So the rest will always be walking for you, though.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. Everything else seemed to pretty much make sense. I kind of chewed through it. I needed a little decoder ring to go through some of it, but but no. Now that I kind of used some of the other information to chew through it, I think I've got it all. So and everything looks great. I think you're going to force me out of my comfort zone in some ways, and I think that's good because I need to grow, particularly with speed workouts. I'll admittedly tell you, I in the past haven't done a lot of speed workouts, and I know that's important. I think probably the reason I haven't is because it's something that requires you to sit down and really think about, structured way and approach to do it. And that's not something I've done, well with that. So I think that having the relationship and the structure with you is going to be very beneficial there.
And most people don't, because obviously we just want to go play on the trails in the mountains. But if you have a task and a goal at hand, then keeping that time that you have to train and keeping it quality over just quantity or those long junk miles, you're going to get so much more out of it than if you're doing those long junk miles. And, doing those not to say that you can't build, obviously, volume, and it will be necessary, especially for something like this. Right. But, there's a technique to obviously doing that and keeping the quality in there. So once you get out there, your legs can sustain, obviously, what they need to do and do it well, too, without injury and without, sickness or anything like that. So.
Right. And I will say, one thing that I felt, and this is, I guess, more of a personal experience than anything, kind of anecdotal, but I felt not only at Run Rabbit Run, but at Javelina, I felt after the race that I should have done a much better job preparing my whole body holistically for the stresses of a 100-mile race rather than just my approach last year was pounding out miles. And I could tell at the conclusion of both of those races, it wasn't just my legs that were shot. My core was shot, my back was shot, my arms were sore, and I think that I should have done a much better job of taking a more holistic approach to my health and my body. And I think that looking at everything here, it seems like you're going to force me to do that, and I think that's a great thing. And I actually have been doing a much better job of that over the last 3 or 4 months, taking that approach, because that was one key learning for me last year was just my whole body was shredded, which means I needed to do a much better job of preparing my whole body and not just putting miles on my legs.
Yeah, and again, it goes back to, so I coach with a holistic approach. That's how I train myself. That's how I train each individual client, no matter what level they are at. And I train everybody from beginners to the most experienced and some elites. So, with that, you have to take all that into perspective. I took your schedule into perspective, which was pretty open, which is nice. But then, no matter what, I really strongly believe in strength training. And for those who may know, I'm having some major hip issues right now. And my career should have been over probably a long time ago. And with the strength training and those recovery methods and everything that I was doing with that holistic approach has actually saved me and may have even saved me further now than ever before. But anyway, so for someone like you who I think just kind of has that talent, has that desire, has that drive. You add in these simple things like some strength training, some recovery methods such as rolling, massage therapy, ice baths, hot baths, all that kind of stuff, taking care of yourself along the way. It's really going to be beneficial when you're out there at mile 150 and, your legs start crapping out on you because you just did 150 miles. Your back's not going to give out on you, right away either. So.
No, and I think I appreciate that approach, and I think it's an approach that'll be very fruitful for me because it's an area that I can still grow in for sure.
And nutrition too. So that's, another aspect of my coaching and training is nutrition is going to be key. And it truly is. I mean, you can bear it and wing it and eat some poor aid station food for about a 50-mile race, but you will never make it out there for a 100-mile race or anything longer. So with the 200 and anything else, you're going to really have to be spot on as much as you can. I mean, there's going to be lows. It's just going to happen. It's not going to feel good. I mean, you're going to probably want to barf half the time. I mean, that's just what it is because we're not supposed to do this to our bodies. Yeah. We're not supposed to be going out there and trying to see how hard or how fast we can run, 100 miles, 200 miles. Like, that's not what our bodies are made to do. However, with a more conservative approach, with a more hiking approach, for this sort of distance, really the taxing part won't be quite as bad, I feel, as like a hard 100-miler, where you're pushing your body, you're redlining it the whole time. You'll get to the point where you're redlining for a long time, but it won't be quite the same sense because you'll be sleeping and we have the sleep stations, and you'll be having full meals at the aid stations and keeping your body going the best that you can.
Hey, I'm looking forward to eating, that's for sure. That's never been a problem for me. I've always been blessed with a really, and I'm going to knock on wood when I say this, obviously, but I have always been blessed with a pretty ironclad GI, which is a blessing, but can also be a curse because then I'm putting whatever I want in my body, not really thinking about, because I think a lot of people maybe have to, they have parameters because they have to worry about how it's going to impact their GI. Me, I can just go to an aid station and eat all the food. And I think being more mindful of what is actually going to fuel my race in a valuable way is probably going to work well too. Less Oreos, more, something that's actually going to be useful.
Yeah, and typically I coach my clients to not take aid station food. Definitely bring as much as you can on your own. However, with the Colorado 200 and it being so remote because it is a looped course in the Gunnison National Forest, 200 miles of a looped course, obviously our aid stations are remote. You will need to refuel at these aid stations. So it's actually very important for me as a race director to provide foods that I feel are healthy. And of course I have the unhealthy ones because, people would be sad if there wasn't any Oreos, but, last year I made sure there was like Bolt House smoothies at every aid station and, keeping obviously the healthier foods, in there too, which will help you guys because we want to see everybody succeed, and who wants gut rot?
Right. Yeah. No, not at mile 150 in the middle of the mountains.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, and I don't really have a whole lot of questions about the nutrition. So I went through obviously, what you provided, and I think all that's fantastic. I'm totally on board with that. I've always been a very mindful eater, or tried to be a very mindful eater. I will admit to, having my transgressions from time to time, but I don't, in full disclosure, I don't eat a lot of meat. And I think during this period, I'm probably going to increase my meat intake and protein intake. Obviously, white meat, lean meats, things like that. I don't eat red meat, so that's easy for me to cut out. I haven't had red meat in about 9 years. So that's probably tough for some people. Piece of cake for me. So that's totally fine there.
Well, a few things on that. First of all, I'm seeing you as a black screen, so I can't see you when you're talking. I can see you now
Okay.
when you're talking. So I don't know if you have something pulled up on your computer that's blocking you or not. But either way, I can still hear your voice fine, and so can everybody else. So if you don't have anything pulled up, don't touch anything.
Is it working now?
Nope, I still see a black screen. And maybe it's just mine. I'm not sure. But I can hear you just fine. So we'll just keep.
Looks like I'm not moving. So for some reason, it's not capturing me, I think.
Huh.
Weird.
Okay. Well, we'll just keep going because I can hear you talk. So, so with that being said, I am a fan of red meat. However, I don't mean to change you or make, whatever. You don't need to eat red meat, but I'm a fan for a few reasons, just because the iron that you absorbs so much different through red meat. However, I'm only a fan of organic, grass-fed, the purest of pure that you can get, and in very small portions. That's the mistake that most people make when they eat red meat, is it needs to be a card deck size. That's a very small size. That's like 5 bites, but most people go overboard with that. So that's their problem with that. However, as you mentioned, you're going to increase your protein intake, et cetera, and you will have to, and you will need to do a lot of the climbing that you're doing in this program, and of course in the race itself. And obviously, with the recovery too, protein will help you recover a lot faster for the next workout, for the next day, for the next thing you got on your plate. It will help. So.
Right. Duly noted. So yeah, all that sounds good. So we talked about kind of the running a little bit and the nutrition. I don't know, it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to talk about the race and strategy and all that. That's on down the road. Obviously, I'm going to stay laser focused on, kind of the next couple weeks and my strategy there, and being very surgical. And I'm in the process of taking all the information that you sent me and kind of putting it in my little binder. So I'll be very organized there, and very excited to have some structure. I think it's going to suit me very well. So
awesome. Well, it's very exciting to coach somebody who's open to that and is absorbent. I want you to be a sponge and learn all that you can.
Yeah, no, I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm very passionate about knowing everything I can know about this sport. And it's interesting because I think that this is an approach that I haven't taken. This is not an approach that I've taken. Being very surgical with kind of all aspects of the preparation, and I think that's exciting to do.
Cool, great. Yeah, so we'll just wrap it up for today, and we'll be on again next week, and we'll kind of get the follow-up of how the week went for you and how the training is going and what you think about it, if you want to swear at me or not. I'm sure people will be interested to know.
We'll do that in email. I won't do that on the air.
I do have clients swear at me. It's okay.
No, I won't. If I swear, it won't be at you, I promise.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jimmy, and it's going to be an exciting journey, and I look forward to it.
Can't wait. I'm excited to get started tomorrow, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the journey, and it's going to be fun.
Heck yeah. All right. Thanks.